I hate to use that term. You gotta know what you're sticking it in.
Jesus, Phil. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mediocre Movie Majors. That's us.
Hey, guys.
It's the podcast where we talk about movies.
I'm Katherine.
And I'm Ryder.
And we are your co-hosts, here to guide you along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We should honestly start reviewing the movies that come out each week.
Yeah.
I think we should open with that.
Instead, we're just talking about...
Instead, we're just talking about whatever the hell we watched.
Yeah, could be from
Welcome.
the 80s, could be brand new.
We got some real gems for you this week. This week, honestly, we got some gems.
I'm actually looking and you might be right.
We have some real gems. We got some real
I'm
stinkers.
excited
There's
to
a couple.
talk.
There's a couple forgettable ones, but
We need to, debrief. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a little bit.
It's been a minute, but I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
Should we just dive right in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just dive in.
Dive right in.
Hell yeah. So first up, we got a film called Date Night, and it was fun because we watched it on our date night,
Yes.
and so that was
So it was
really
a little
fun.
meta.
Yeah, it's fun because it's got some funny people in it, like Steve Carell and Tina Fey.
Now, I want to get right off the bat.
They're a couple made in heaven. They're meant to be together.
I disagree. And I don't know what makes me think this, but for some reason, I feel like they don't make a convincing couple in this movie or in general. I've been trying to figure it out since we watched this movie, and the best I could come up with is that they're both supposed to be the quirky funny one in their relationship. You can't have two of them because it just the dynamic does not work.
Well, you're gonna have to tell that to Sean Levy.
Not to say that's a compliment to both of them because they both slay and they're both in their own right actually generally
I thought the
genuinely
crazier
funny.
thing about it was that they were both named Phil and Claire.
Okay, yeah.
Modern
what?
Family fan over here.
What the hell was that?
I think it's funny actually. I think that's a funny joke.
It was funny. And honestly, kind of giving Phil and Claire.
Honestly,
in a
this
way.
is kind of one of those movies like Game Night, where it's kind of
game
like
night, date night.
yeah, it's
night.
basically they go off for some lighthearted fun hijinks,
And then everything
then
goes wrong.
everything becomes a serious action, but they're still having fun
Yeah.
moments, and it's a fine movie. I gave it 3 bags.
I gave it 2.5 bags, which honestly, looking back, I'm I feel like I might have been in a hater mode because there's no way it was that bad, but at the same time,
It was kind of forgettable.
it was
Can tell me a
not
single
good.
thing that happens.
I know they're running away from the bad guys.
Yeah, but
that's
a
what I'm
specific
saying. That's
scene.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
there's no real moments in this.
I
It just
don't
kind of
remember how they got out
it
of the
comes and goes.
situation,
I
you
wouldn't
know?
really recommend it. It's kind of very.
I think
It's fine.
if
You could catch
you-
it on TV.
yeah, honestly, I was about to say if you're a really big fan of both of these comedians and you missed this one, it might be fun to check out. But they've been in better movies. Maybe not together, but you know.
No, I agree with that. And
Yeah,
next up we got 9.
just the number 9.
This is one of those movies I always saw the poster of, and some of my friends when I was a kid saw this, but I never did.
Well,
I
that's
always,
weird.
always thought this was a movie that was a completely silent film because the guy has no mouth. And
He has does he have a mouth or no?
I
He
just
talks. We
he
literally
totally
watched the
talks.
movie. He
We
talks
watched
in it.
this movie, but it's just I thought it was silent, and so
He's
then
silent in, the very
he's silent for a
Yeah.
quarter of the movie. But this is just I don't know if it was. I'm sure it's probably a good movie. I just fell asleep immediately, and I had no care to ever go back. It was fine.
It was okay. I felt like it was a weird thing where when I was thinking about watching this movie, I was I don't know, it feels like something a kid would watch. But then when we were watching it, I was this seems almost too
It's a little spooky.
spooky. I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
know.
little creepy.
I
It's a
was
little
also a
the
sensitive
human
child.
the human
You
race
guys
has
know
gone.
this.
Yeah, the human race has gone extinct, and it's pollution and radiation and monsters and yeah, it's very post 9/11 core.
When was it made?
2009.
Oh, 2009, because it's called 9.
Everything about this movie is 9, which is kind of fun, but
9 bags. Just kidding.
I feel like if I watched it when I was
3 divided by
younger,
3. No, wait, 9 divided by 3.
yeah, that's a funny joke.
Thanks.
If I watched this when I was younger, I probably would have liked it, but it just felt forgettable. 2.5 bags. As they said from Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent,
I'm 44 years old. Why the fuck would I see
9, and then you use the clip of me saying 9.
9.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's really funny.
So anyway,
If you haven't watched this one already,
honestly, I think the theme you might be able to take away from this podcast is movies that fall into the middle of the road tend to be like worst and least recommended than like the terrible or the great films.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in the middle there, it's just kind of like,
you know.
yeah.
Okay.
Next
let's
up,
move right
yeah,
on.
let's move on to this because we got a lot of movies to talk about, and some of them we really want to talk about. Others of them, like this one, I think we only have a couple notes to say. This is Richard Linklater's newest film, Hitman. I'm not gonna dive. It's just it's not like super explicit, but
It definitely is.
The
one
whole
of those
story
movies
is
that's
about-
pro Glenn Powell. Like there's this one scene that sticks with me where like he's a teacher and like one of his students like turns to the like her friend and is like, when did our teacher get hot? And then like there's another scene where they're all like, ooh, this guy is hot, and it's like just having characters say that about another character doesn't make him attractive. You know, he's gotta like be doing something. And honestly, what Glenn Powell was doing in this movie was good. I don't have much to say about it.
No, I agree. I think it's kind of one of those like, I think this might be one of the most Glenn Powell movies I've ever seen. It's a great film because I think the story was like keeping you guessing where it was gonna go.
Yeah.
But the ending kind of undermined a lot of what the film set up to do. And it just sort of left me feeling like, without spoiling, and it's a new enough movie, we're not gonna spoil it, but the ending just sort of left me going, wait, so what was the whole point
It's
of
the
this?
Bernie
The haze.
problem. It's the same problem Richard Linklater had with Bernie.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, Bernie could have been really good, but I mean, I thought that one was a lot slower. This is definitely more
This
of like
is
an
more-
action-y,
Yeah.
like love story
It's
type
called
of film.
Hitman.
It's called Hitman, and
I think you guys
everyone's
can figure
making
out what's going
films. Remember that last other Hitman movie
Yeah.
with
Michael
Michael
Fassbender.
Fassbender? Everyone's making the same movies. They always come out in twos. These studios, they copy each other. But anyway, yeah, he's so me character just dropped. So, you know, and did feel a little bit forced, but they did reference American Psycho, so they get brownie points for that.
That is true, actually, they do.
Like they knew their target audience. And if you're a film nerd who's like a history guy, the Hays Code is literally crying after this movie.
I don't know what that means.
Really? Oh, well, history lesson for you all. The Hays Code was basically this like ruling, this sort of rule they enforced in the studio Hollywood films where you can't have the bad guys win. You can't have like crime being paid. Like crime can't show that it pays. The good guys always have to win. The cops have to win. The like, you know, and there's a lot of like stipulations to that enforced, you know, the status quo and whatever. But it's old golden age or silver age Hollywood stuff. Yeah, thank you. Speaking of cinema history, this is actually something that should be mentioned in history books. Who killed Captain Alex?
I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one.
You don't want to talk about this one?
No, I want to talk about it, but I don't even know how to like to explain it.
So
like I want you to.
This
give
is a
the-
2010. This is the Uganda's first action film. That's like what it's been marketed as, and that's like if you watch it, you'll see, and it's awesome because it was just made by a group of fans of like action movies, and they just had a laptop and a camcorder, and they took it seriously.
They had iMovie and a dream.
They did. Crazy thing about this
yeah.
film is that when they were making trailers and then they wanted to make a sequel, they didn't have the hard drive space for the more work, so they just deleted the original film. So it only exists on the internet. Like,
That's so crazy.
it's insane. I love it. It's got such a deep history.
I've never seen.
And
anything like
the
it.
thing about that is since they like lost the original version of it, the only like accessible version of it is with the VJ, who it's part of the experience. It's literally part of the experience. It's basically like, you know how you have a DJ or like a radio host talking
Yeah.
in between the songs? Same thing during the movie. And sometimes he'll be saying like sound effects like ka-chow, and then other times he'll say, "Who killed Captain Alex? Action movie!"
Or yeah, he basically like explains to you what you're watching.
Yeah, because
but, like,
sometimes
with
lines aren't
more
translated.
and like
He's acting. He's fully acting.
Like when you
He's
go to
selling.
a bar mitzvah and like the DJ guy is like really getting everyone pumped up to like dance. That's him.
That's him for the movie, and it just makes everything hit harder. I personally think every movie should have a VJ, or like I guess that's the director's
I was really
commentary.
thinking about that, like
That is the director's commentary.
that's like a true dream though. Like I want to do that for other people's movies. Just like have it play and like just be chatting right over it.
We should. That we'll
That
just
could
start.
be,
We'll
like, our
start a
new-
spin-off
yeah.
podcast called Mystery Science
Yeah.
Movie Major.
Mystery, mystery movie majors. It's a dream job for sure.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It would be fun. But anyway, 5 bags. I mean, this is a
Really
fantastic
great
film.
energy there. I gave it 4 bags. It's
Oh.
definitely.
What was wrong with it?
I mean, some of the effects are maybe not.
Oh, you need like
Highest
the Marvel
quality.
Disney studio effects to appreciate
Yeah,
a
they
movie.
didn't film this in a fully green screen. They filmed it on location, and therefore, I'm giving it 4 bags.
Okay, that's. I mean, your loss, but it's a great film. And if you haven't seen it, you can find it on pretty much anywhere.
I think
Probably
I watched it on
YouTube.
YouTube. I think you just Google who killed Captain Alex. It'll
Yeah,
come up.
it's crazy. Now, it's not for everyone. Like, I don't think my folks would
No,
watch
like,
this
you
movie.
have to know, like, it's,
You have to
it's
know what you're getting into.
it's-
It's awesome, though.
campy. It's ridiculous. It's fun.
It's awesome.
It's, you know,
It's a multi-character
get
driven
into
narrative.
it when you know.
It's
when you
so
wanna have
good.
some fun.
It's so good.
I wish I think somebody.
And at the end of the day,
drinking
at the
game
end of the
for it,
day,
don't you think?
who did kill Captain Alex?
I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, that's the best part. I don't even know.
It's so good. Anyways, next up we got maybe the stinker of the week.
I don't know.
This honestly might be the stinker of the week. I mean, I guess not, but
don't
it's
know.
definitely a
up
contender.
there.
It's an up there one. Maybe it's my personal stinker of the week. This is Unfrosted, Jerry Seinfeld's new movie about breakfast cereals.
So here's my thing about Jerry Seinfeld. If you know anything about Jerry Seinfeld, if you've ever watched Seinfeld, you know this man loves his cereal. And when I found out Jerry Seinfeld was making like a movie, like sort of a period piece type, it's not a real story, I'm assuming. Story about cereal, I was like, that makes perfect sense. That's perfect.
That's
for
like,
him.
I love
I'm so
that.
happy that
Yeah.
he gets to.
They paid him in cereal.
Yeah, like this man loves cereal. This must have been so
The
fun
thing
for him
about
to
this
make.
movie is the start of the film isn't the worst. It's like an interesting hook. It's like, what if these competing cereal companies like Kellogg's and whatever the hell the other one is, they're like competing over the invention of the Pop-Tart, and it's kind of framed as like a space age sort of like space race kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's fun. They got Paddington Bear, Hugh Grant.
I love that you call Hugh Grant Paddington Bear guy.
Well,
Like,
'cause I know
that's
him
the
from
movie that you
Paddington
know him
Bear.
from, because
Yeah.
everyone else in the entire world is like,
He's
how do you
Paddington
not know
Bear.
Hugh Grant.
And he plays the actor in the Tony the Tiger
He
like
plays
costume.
Tony the Tiger.
He's like the
guy
actor
that-
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Tony the Tiger costume. It's amazing.
There's a lot
It's-
of fun. Like,
It had
little
it
details,
had like
but
potential, but just none of the jokes are funny, and like all of like as often as they can, they try and go like, "Oh, this is a period piece." Wink, wink.
it's
They'll be like, "Wouldn't it be crazy if you could walk around with cell phones in your pocket one day and play like smartphone apps on them? Like that'd be crazy."
yeah.
And it's
'Cause
like,
it's supposed to be set in the 60s. I don't know if we said that, but
Yeah,
they
I said-
basically are like, they every other joke is just like, it's the 60s and not 2024 when
And
you're
it's like
watching
it
this
might have
movie. Wink,
worked
wink.
once, but they do it
No,
like
so
5 times
much,
at least.
yeah.
And it's just like, in my opinion, the longest advertisement for Kellogg's I've ever sat through.
It's definitely a big ad. Like,
It's just the-
I did feel like I was like, did I just get tricked? Like, into watching this. We put this on willingly, and I still felt a little tricked. And I knew
did
what
feel
it was
tricked.
about.
I love Jerry Seinfeld. You
I
know, my
love
parents
him.
have seen his stand up, and
Yeah,
like
I
I
love
grew up
him.
with him.
We think he's great. I'm so glad he got to make this movie, and like hopefully had a blast like doing all the research. on
Yeah,
the
I'm sure he had
cereals.
fun, but
Was it good?
I don't even think we sat through the whole thing. I feel like we
We
got most of the way, and I
honestly-
was
yeah,
like, we can
I was
just
like,
Google the
I want to know
ending.
the ending, and then I watched the ending, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, 2.5 bags.
I gave it 2 bags.
Forgettable.
I wish, I don't know. It could have been something else, but it just wasn't.
I agree. It definitely could have been funny, and that's kind of I think it's like when you
It
think
could
about
have been
when you think
funny.
about how it could have been funny and they had all the pieces there. It's just like, damn, that's like I want to give it more of like a 1.5. But as its own vacuum, it's like yeah, it's fine.
It's definitely a Netflix original.
It definitely is a Netflix original
I-
film.
but I don't think I could recommend anybody like to watch it.
No, yeah. Anything below a 3, I don't think I could recommend anyone watch.
Unless it's like a half bag,
yeah,
like
unless it's like
one-
so bad, it's like you have to see it.
But then sometimes you just give it the 5 for fun.
Depends on my mood.
Yeah.
So next up, we have probably the best one that we watched this week.
Probably.
This is Godzilla Minus One. It just won an Oscar. It just recently got put on streaming, so we were finally able to watch it.
Wow.
I've been excited. I've been trying to watch this movie since it like debuted, and I didn't catch any of the theater releases, so I was just like waiting and waiting. And my God, it's so good! This might be the best Godzilla film. I grew up watching all those like old like Godzilla versus Mothra when they were just guys in costumes in cardboard cities, and they were fun and campy. But this takes it to like a Jaws level of like tension.
Yeah, and I was a little bit nervous because for me, like, I feel like I was worried I was gonna miss that like campy element because that's something that I always kind of associate with Godzilla and like those kinds of like big monster movies. But then you get like so invested in the story and you're like, oh my God, like this is a film. Like, this is cinema.
The problem with a lot of these like newer kaiju movies is that they like have the main characters just not be interesting. And so this film remedies that by having a whole script with metaphor and meaning and like
interesting characters. And
and growth and development and plot you might not be able to predict.
Like Godzilla,
You know, and like Godzilla is kind of just like a monster in the background doing his own thing. And like, of course, he's the star of the show, but we have this frame of reference that we can connect with. And the film wastes no time introducing Godzilla. I mean, the first scene, Godzilla's there.
Absolutely.
So it's a great film. It's paced beautifully. It's 125 minutes. Like, this is my recommendation this week. Go see it. It's just like Jaws, where like you know it's coming and you're afraid, you know, and it's like, oh God, it's so good. It's really, really good.
It hits all the really good like disaster movie notes.
And we did watch it in the English dub, although I did like switch to the original Japanese version just to like check the dialogue, see if it was like tweaked. It's a good dub. The like mouths aren't off and like the dialogue is still the same, so it's not translated weird or anything.
You can do either, I think.
You could do either,
if you're
for
watching
sure.
This, like July 2024, it's streaming on Netflix.
Hopefully it still will for a couple months. Hopefully.
But
hopefully.
Yeah.
You never know.
Usually you can. You guys know it's a choose your own adventure. Do what you want to do. Do what feels best for you.
You definitely, if you want to watch a scary kaiju film, this is a great one. If you like the campy ones,
I think if you like missed out on this one because you weren't like sure about it, if you're like on the fence, I think just do it.
Just absolutely do it. You're gonna not regret it. Yeah. Especially if you have any nostalgia at all for any of these old like King Kong movies or anything like that. Yeah. It's a fun one. It's definitely better than Godzilla X Kong. Although that was fun in a campy way. So I gave this one 5 bags. Sorry.
4.5.
4.5, yeah.
Yeah.
So you thought this one was better than Who Killed Captain Alex?
Yeah, I did.
Interesting.
Anyways.
You did fall asleep during Godzilla Minus One.
No, I didn't.
You did. I have a tag. I have a tag on my Letterboxd, and it says Katherine fell asleep, and I write that when you fell asleep and you missed like the whole third act.
I didn't fall asleep.
You did. You woke up at the very ending after, but anyways, enough about Godzilla. Let's move on to something a lot more down to earth and grounded in reality. Nathan, for you, Finding Francis. We've been. Yeah, you can take the reins on this.
You guys know Nathan Fielder. If you haven't seen Nathan for You, or you don't know who Nathan is from The Rehearsal or The Curse, or just
Nathan on Your Side,
existing that video of him singing Lana Del Rey, he's
a funny little guy. He's a funny guy. Yeah.
You know, he does usually more of like a comedy style show. And for the last episode of his show, Nathan for You, he made this whole documentary called Finding Francis. Nathan takes... Stop it.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because it's all inside jokes. Nathan for You is a really funny show, and this was all basically the ending of the show. They did a film where this guy is talking about how he wished he married his high school sweetheart, and he basically convinces Nathan to use his like the resources of the show to help him find his long lost love, Finding Francis.
Yeah.
And the only thing they have to go off of is like her name. And like they eventually get a yearbook. They don't know her last name.
They know her maiden name.
Yeah.
And he's like, but she got married, so I don't.
It's honestly one of the more beautiful documentaries ever made. Moral of the story: men are crazy. Love is a powerful drug. Don't let your dreams be regrets. YOLO.
That's beautiful.
Thanks. 4.5 bags.
I gave it 4 bags. I thought it was beautiful, to be honest. I think it's a little bit something different than you would expect from Nathan, but at the same time, it has all of his Nathan charm. You know?
Yeah. No, for sure. So we watched Mrs. Doubtfire.
I'm tearing up again. I've been crying.
Every time I bring up Robin Williams, you just start crying on the spot.
One of the podcast episodes that went up recently, we talked about Robin Williams and just like what an amazing powerhouse of an actor he is.
Was.
And yes, truly.
I just wanted you to tear up a little bit more. I'll be honest.
Oh my god. Truly, this might be like his magnum opus. I'm not even kidding.
Interesting. I don't know if I can say that. I grew up with a lot of other Robin Williams characters that stuck with me more.
I am a Dead Poet Society girly for life.
I'm an Aladdin guy all the way through and through. But, you know...
Something about this film just feels like Robin Williams was...
This is definitely Robin Williams.
He
proved himself and he was just going nuts. Have you ever seen Good Morning Vietnam?
No.
It's another similar one. You should add it to your list where Robin Williams just kind of kills it. And it's like they just let him do his thing.
Yeah.
I will say the writing of this movie is a little bit crazy. Like,
I mean, it is.
Like, it's a kid's movie, but I just mean in terms of how they depict the divorce and like.
It's a 1993 Disney movie.
It's a 1993 Disney movie about divorce. That's like all I gotta say.
It hits in that exact spot where I feel like they were like, we gotta start like making movies about like non-nuclear families, or like we've got to start like giving representation to the like to divorced families or families that they were just stuff.
Like,
but it's interesting. They do make Sally Fields out to be just a little bit whack, like just a little bit whack.
I feel like this movie definitely didn't really like tackle the whole drag controversy. Like, this was like just before
it was before like
people started really getting up in arms about.
No, because it was more of like the comedy was just like, I feel like we talked about this when we talked about Tootsie too. Like the comedy is just like, it's funny because it's a man dressed as a woman. Yeah, I feel like they kind of make fun a little bit of the comedy and like, oh, it's Robin Williams is like a man wearing women's clothes, but like they don't really like, I don't know. I feel like it'd be crazy for these kids to like see their dad like dressed up in that and then like go on for that to be like their dad's job. Like he continues that as like a career, and they don't really touch on that in terms of like gender identity or anything like that, because that's not the conversation that was being had at the time.
Yeah. It wasn't about like they make
it
a
was
couple
just like
jokes.
Robin Williams is a guy, but he just had to do it. Yeah.
Either way, I gave it 4 bags. I think Robin really killed it, but I thought the writing didn't give him a lot to work with.
Oh my god, I gave it 4.5 bags. I love you, Robin Williams, forever, and you did the best you could with what you were given. No,
for sure. He absolutely killed it. Like, Robin Williams carried this movie on both of his shoulders.
Besides Robin Williams, and also that one scene where Sally Fields goes, the whole time.
Yeah, Robin Williams carried this movie on both of his shoulders. Like, for sure.
My little Matilda girl.
Yeah.
I can't remember her actual name, but Matilda, my girl.
Next up, we got Police Story, one of Jackie Chan's earlier films. Goddamn. He actually directed this movie.
I mean, Jackie Chan is just the GOAT.
He's the GOAT. I don't like... There's like nothing I want to say about this movie because it's just best to go in blind. It's so good. If you like action movies like this and you like when people do their own stunts, you need to check this one out.
I mean, if you like Jackie Chan, if you want to call yourself a fan of Jackie Chan, you know, because you've seen like the new Karate Kid or whatever, do yourself a favor and actually go and watch this movie.
Yeah.
This is one of like
I gave it 4.5 bags.
Rated
It's a great film.
He's done on Letterboxd for a reason.
It's a great one.
And when you watch it, just know that that man did all of his own stunts.
Yeah.
Like
every single one, and he directed it too.
Insane, that
which
man.
Is awesome.
And it's so good.
Now
I will say, like, plot wise, just like a little note, like that man needs a new girlfriend ASAP. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, well, it's a different culture.
Different culture.
But speaking of, well, how many bags?
4.5.
Me too. I give it 4.5 as well.
Period.
But Next up,
Okay.
speaking of actors turned directors, we got Tim Hanks's directorial debut, That Thing You Do, which is basically just the Elvis movie again.
Well, I don't know what this is.
This is just like a biopic.
This is like,
the first thing you're gonna notice is that on the poster, the biggest person on the poster is good old star there from Big, Tom Hanks. So you immediately go, okay, it's about a Tom Hanks movie with Liv Tyler, maybe some musicians or something. No, they don't date. Tom Hanks plays like the manager.
No, Liv Tyler is dating one of the band members.
Yeah, but the band member that she's dating is a tiny little guy smaller than the word that. So, like, why? And anyways,
that's just our gripe with
movie
the
poster
poster.
aside, like debate aside, it's a pretty boring film about like a band. It's like a biopic. It's like Walk Hard.
It feels
the
like
Huey Cox
maybe
story.
like this movie did come out in 1996, so I want to give it the benefit of the doubt in saying that like by the time we're watching this, like 20, 30 years later, like a lot of very similar movies had been made, but
even by this point, there were already parodies of that trope. Like Spinal Tap came out in the 80s.
It's definitely not like I don't even think for the time it was super nuanced. It's really just like a film about a band. Like Tom Hanks is like the manager of a band, and they like get famous.
Yep.
They're like guys from a town, and then
as they get famous, they get problems in the band, and
you've seen it before.
You've seen it a million times. You're tired. You're sick of it.
if-
You're skipping through this timestamp because you've already heard this movie described at least 15 times before.
There's a single song in this movie. It's called "That Thing You Do," and they play it about 35,000 times.
And I still don't know a single lyric from that song. I can't tell you. I can't tell you anything of that song. It's so forgettable, and they just try to make it like, oh, it's like a hit and everyone loves it, and it's like
It's fine. It's honestly
It's 2.5 bags. It's poorly made, but Tom Hanks. Anything he touches is gold. So
I was noticing that when we were watching it, I was like, I feel like this is supposed to be funnier, especially like Steve Zahn, the character Steve Zahn plays. Love Steve Zahn. And I felt like all of the lines he was saying were supposed to be funny. And I know he's funny. So I'm like, is Tom Hanks not good at directing? Or was something off with the script, which I think Tom Hanks also wrote? I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm sort of getting off of the Tom Hanks train, which is crazy. But at the same time, he's iconic and I'll always love him. But I just feel like the past few Tom Hanks movies I've watched haven't hit. I want him to like come back and do something great.
We should stop watching late 90s Tom Hanks movies then. It's boring and forgettable, and there's not much to really say about it.
Yeah.
So 2.5 bags, a fate
3.5.
worse than death. 3.5.
Same thing, really.
That's crazy high.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I could probably move it down to a
You thought it
3,
was better
but-
than Date Night?
See, now I can't be comparing.
You have to be. That's the
There-
whole point of rating
it's
them. That's
all
our
based-
job as
no, like,
as
the
movie
star-
maker, mediocre movie majors.
The star rating that I give can be moved up or down a half of a star depending on my mood. So like a 3.5, it could just be a 3 that I was in a good mood for, or a 4 that I was in a bad mood for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our neighbor is blasting music, so I don't really. We can't record a good quality podcast right now. So I guess that's the end of this episode.
Bye, guys.
We'll have to see you next
Peace
time.
out.
We're gonna do more,
We're
but
done.
we're covering them next time. And
Yeah.
thank obnoxious neighbors for that.
Stay tuned. Keep listening. If you need more to listen to, go back, listen to an old episode.
I guess.
Listen to a new one coming out next week.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Love you guys.
peace.
Bye.